So today we will talk about the product discovery of a complex internal operation system. But let me ask you this question first. What's the hardest part of being a product manager? Write it in the comments or feel free to speak up. I really like to hear your answers and your point of view. What's the hardest thing? Anyone? Well, the hardest maybe the hardest part is explaining what you do to your friends and family. That's the hardest part. Yeah, so, but it's going to be easy with you guys to introduce myself. My name is Dragana Grbic, and I'm a product discovery coach and product consultant. I'm coaching together with Anna and the rest of the team at ProductWiser. And I'm also running discovery as a service agency at the Bold Zebra. This is my LinkedIn. You can find me there. I write daily on the product management and product discovery topics. Feel free to get in touch, ask questions. I'm running Ask Me Anything every once in a while, and but you can always write in DMs. So today we will talk about the real life example of how we did a discovery for internal product for a client. We will talk about I will give you an introduction about a short story, how to have a context. Then we will talk about the toolbox, and then we will dive deep into the process, and later we will have a space for Q&A. So to get started, we had a client coming in and saying we want to build an internal product. Dragana, can you help us with that? And yeah, the answer is always yes. And it's much easier from my experience to build an internal product than to build an external product. They're totally two different spaces. And but of course, as I'm a all discovery lady, I'm like finding that process very important. So the answer was yes, of course, but we need to do discovery despite it's an internal product and you know what you want. So the need was to build an internal product that will simplify operations and improve the workflow and enable them to integrate third-party services so they can work better and more efficient. It was a travel industry, and they were a travel concierge service for high-end paying clients. So their services needed to be at the same level. And it was the story got I was asking, okay, yes, we can do this. It sounds easy, but we need to do discovery. And once I started asking questions, how you're currently doing it, how big is your team, how do you receive all of the requests from the clients, how do you do onboarding of a client, how do you maintain all the informations that you receive for each of the clients. I was getting from this picture and toward the bottom one, because questions started to pop out, the answers and the craziness started in my hand and also in the client's head. So they were like, oh my God, is this real, this hard? Will I have to answer all of these questions? How many people are in the team? So we come to an understanding that we will do a product discovery to figure out why we're building, what we're building, and then later on how we're going to do that. But with them in the same team with us. So we teamed up with the stakeholder, with the client and their team to make this discovery process even better. Why discovery? Well, you all know that discovery is a process that helps product teams to refine their ideas and to deeply understand the real user problem. So we can then land on the best way to solve it. And what we do actually with the entire discovery is we de-risk. So we decrease the risk of building something that will not give value to end customer, to our business, or nobody will use. Or we are not tackling the right problem, or we are not tackling the problem in the right way, or the opportunity. So this is why we do discovery. And one other thing is, it often happens is if you're like, yeah, I know what we need to build, and this is it, you may really end up like this cat staring at the net and not being aware of surroundings. So if you zoom out a little bit, you may see the easy solution to this, but we need this step back, zooming out, to see how we can approach it even easier. So what we come up with, we had our own product trio from product manager, UX designer, and a tech lead, partnering with the stakeholders, so the client, the business owner, and their team members. Now, when you're doing discovery for an internal product, it gets a little bit easier than when you're building like B2C products or B2B products, because you already have people who you can easily contact, you can easily interview, and you can get the insights that you need. Also, you can involve them in a process to some extent to get all the information you need to validate faster and to get a feedback loop shorter. So we partnered up together, and we had a couple of workshops to make this discovery process happen. Then we come up, so because there is one thing that a lot of people are confused about, there is no one size fits all. So there is no playbook for product discovery. There is a toolbox. There is no a situation in which you always follow the same rule or same set of actions to do a discovery and then build a product. There is certain steps and a way of thinking, and you can use to approach the product discovery, but there is no a recipe for it. So it's a toolbox. It looks like this, something like this. So it is filled in with all the tools and techniques you need, like customer journey, user flow, user testing, A/B testing, personas, object solution tree, user interviews, value stream mapping, and many, many more. I didn't list all of them here. I don't even know the exact number of them, but it's up to you as a PM who is leading this discovery process to figure out which of these techniques and habits are the best for your needs to solve your problems, and for you to help you understand better why you're building what you're building, or why you're solving this specific problem, to help you validate a hypothesis and to help you get this from a discovery to a delivery stage. So in our case, out of all the techniques in product discovery, we selected user interviews, personas, and value stream mapping to start with. So the interviews were very easy part of this, because we already have a couple of team members joining us for the interviews and for giving us a wider context and a deep dive into what they do. So let's start with the process, how it actually went. I'm a huge fan of pottery, so this is like I'm trying to make this a little bit closer together. So we all get our hands dirty, and we were all deeply involved in a process. I think Olgica was mentioning earlier today that it is really important to bring the entire team together to work in a discovery, because we all have different perspectives from our different roles, and we can together contribute more to bring the most value out of this discovery. Especially when you're interviewing customers and you do user interviews, you talk with people, we all perceive things differently. So we may heard something that other people don't. So don't ever do it alone if if you have the opportunity to bring at least one more person to the interview. So what we did is first we needed to understand the ladies who were the team members who actually did the job. So they were concierge a service for like in the travel industry. They were offering bookings for their clients all over the world for different kind of experiences. And these were like high-end customers. So they were luxury experiences. We were eager to know, how do you do it? Like what is the flow? How does it happen that user finds you? What do you do when they register with you? What kind of information do you need? How do you file that new customer? How do you what tools you use? What documents you use? How many back and forth there is? And all sorts of questions. What is the most time consuming part of your work that we can potentially optimize later? So we were sitting with each one of them in the sessions and trying to get as much as insights as we can. After we did that, we also decided to include them to help us map the entire process with value stream mapping. But before we did that, we didn't come with the standard personas. Again, we adjusted the technique to what we needed the most. So we needed to have like a persona groups rather than one single person to understand who are the person who will use our product. So who will use the end product we are building. So that was internal staff. And those were the ladies from sales, people from lifestyle and travel management. And they were the ones who would do certain actions within the product that would help get the client from onboarding to placing a request to actually enjoying on their traveling in their experiences. So we come up with a short, very brief personas. Why? Because we had them handy and we talked with them and they were deeply involved in the process. So we didn't went very deep in this like standard persona templates you can find online. Then we did a value stream mapping. So I'm curious to see, did any one of you ever did a value stream mapping as a part of the product discovery or anywhere ever? Can you quickly just write in the comments so I can better understand how to explain this, to what level of details? Have you guys done it before? Okay, I get a picture. Okay, cool. So value stream mapping is a flowchart method to illustrate and analyze and then improve the steps required to deliver a product or service. What does that mean? We ask a bunch of questions and then we do a flowchart. Very similar, yeah, to input mapping, but we do like a flowchart where we map all the steps and where then we get a bigger picture of everything that's happening. I'll get to this. So then the goal with value stream mapping is for both sides to identify the business process issues. So where we can see where the hole is, where the delays are, where we need to have like 10 unnecessary steps that we can solve with one thing or one feature sometime in future that would help make the product better. So the goal was to identify business process and then to improve them. And also one of the main reasons why when you're building operational product is to reduce waste. So instead of having 10 actions, you can streamline it to 2 or 3 that would speed up time, bring the efficiency more, and some other things. So this is the very basic explanation and definition of value stream mapping. So what we did, we mapped the key steps in the process. So we needed to understand every single step that every single person in the organization is doing to be able to optimize it. It's somehow naturally, but when we said it to a client, they were like, they were a little bit confused, and you can imagine the storm of information we needed to process at a time. But it at the end, it really helped both sides. It was like more in the business impact as well, just with that mapping. And then we mapped who was involved in which stage, and we mapped all the steps in between. Then we identified where the value is delivered. So where we as a business receive value, so aka where we earn money, and where we provide value to our end customers, how we do that. And then we marked, because they had a system in place, not a really good one, but still they had a system in place. We mark the existing tools so we can better understand how the new product can help them simplify and decrease the number of tools and number of steps they need to do to bring the value faster, to provide the value faster. So we simplify and mark new tools. How we're going to do it, now we're getting deep. So curtains on. First, first, so I explained briefly. I really hope you see all the things. I will share the presentation later with you guys so you can see the details. So their process was when they have a new lead from field marketing, sales, cold selling, whatever, they track it in a spreadsheet. So, but they track it. We will not mention the tools now. So they track it. Then they do the sale. The sales team get all the negotiation done, and they sign the client. When they sign a client, new member, they onboard him. And once the onboarding process is finished, the client member send a request. So I want to travel to Aruba. And then the team goes into internal planning. Of course, they send a little bit more details about what they want to experience in Aruba, or who they are bringing with them, and so on. So the team start planning. Then they do, once the itinerary is confirmed, they do some final bookings, like before the trip. They send out certain information. They fill you in with what kind of documents to bring. Do you need visa, any medical things, and so on. And then they have, when the service is in progress, or when the client is traveling, they also offer some other additional services for them, like give me an Uber from this place to this place, I'm lost, or something. And then once the service is completed, they kind of check it out, and that's it. So that is the two main kind of flows in one big chunk of what's happening. One is when the client on board, and one is when the client send the request and they complete the service. So it's pretty simply presented, so everybody can easily digest it. So once we did a key steps in the process, then we assigned people to it. So we had a client coming in, and then we had a sales team helping with sale and with onboarding. And then we had another set of people who were dealing, depending on the type of the request, with the new request and offering the service, fully during the traveling. So now we understood that the main part was relying only on two people, and we had more people in the sales, and they were aware that how they can better and smarter scale their team to get this more, to grow their business, so they can offer better services. This was one of the takeaways from putting this in a very simple way. What we did then we bring the ladies in, and we let them talk. We ask a lot of questions of what is that you do, what are the exact steps that you do. So they start with discovery call, then they send a follow-up email with an invoice. Once they receive a payment, they have to check if the payment processed. Did they land on time? Is customer running late? To remind him, to send a message, to create account once everything is sorted out, to send a confirmation that the payment was successful, create a contract, and a lot of things. Then we had, when the member is onboarded, we then complete, they then complete an intro call, and then they ask them to fill in like a 20 pages document with all the personal details, business detail, credit cards, authorization, traveling preferences, health preferences, medical, a lot of different details you may not even think of that they need to fill in. And then the ladies were, adding that into their system. We'll not get into the details of what system they use. So once all of that is done, they have a new client. Okay, you're ready to send a request. They also ask, are you planning some upcoming trips, so they can prepare on time because of the workload they have for each of the clients. Once the members send a new request, they want to travel to Aruba or Hawaii or wherever, then the member, depending on the experiences, gets assigned, and then they create a request in their own system and assign a team member. So at that point, there is only one person responsible for everything. So you can imagine that the weight on the shoulders of one person who is dealing with multiple clients, doing all the logistics and all the bookings and everything for a client, taking into consideration all the details that they need to think of. And imagine the case when that person gets sick. So it was very risky for them to rely on only one person to deal with one client, but they were not able to grow more because the learning curve was a huge, and they had some different internal problems that they were having because of the fact that they didn't have a right process or a system which they all use internally. So when the planning is done, they send the questions, they send the confirm the itinerary, then they make the bookings. They also added a PA, a personal assistant, in the process if that client has it, so it's a little bit easier to communicate. And then when the service happens, they have the minute-by-minute plan. They send out some guides and so on. Once the service is in progress, they're basically on standby. If anything happens or if any new request comes in, they need to be able to respond to it and to help the customer. And once everything is done, once the client comes back, they ask them to fill in the write a review, and they get some sort of feedback so they can be better at what they do. So this is a little bit in detail how they do what they do at the moment. And then we figured out the 2 steps where the value is provided. We didn't map the time to do certain steps, to time from one step to another, but we did something else because this was more important and would help us more. So we identify that the value the business gets is when the client sign in the yearly membership subscription. That's when the business gets the money in, and where the client gets value when the process is completed, when they have everything sorted out. The fact is that they are not a travel agency like a standard travel agency. They are concierge services, and they offer some discounted deals for their members. So it's something else. They are something else that stand them out of the rest of the people. So we had the 2 points where the value is given, but we needed to streamline all of this to get much better. Then was the question, okay, what tools are you using? People who do not have any specific product they are using for their operations, they live in tens, thousands, I don't know, spreadsheets, Google Documents, guides, relying on Google search, using some external products or using dozens of products to help them get their tasks ready. So you can imagine how many back and forth there is just to sign that a contract and then to fill in the 20 pages onboarding form with all the personal details and business detail of an individual. And then where the rest, when they have to take all the notes about every client, find and tailor the specific experiences for them, and get approval, send out all the details, timely manner, be there to respond to everything they have during the onboarding. They basically had like 30 spreadsheets that they needed to have open to be able to track things down. I don't know how they get there, but the good things, we build a product afterwards. But so we map the current state. We map how things work, what are the tasks that are done there. And then we that was like the end of the workshop with them. Then we sit down together and try to find a better way to help them with all the insights we collected to help them build a product that they will need. Out of the next step, we identify the opportunities where the new product can help the client and help improve, make life easy of those ladies who are doing the onboarding or the pre-booking work. And when you finally see a big picture, you say, yeah, are we doing all of this? And it was like, wow. So we come up with a different system, and we introduce, so everywhere where is the laptop and like Salesforce or like this orange icon for the third-party API they used for travel inquiries, that is product can help them. Out of this, we were able to easily focus on the next steps. So this was a value stream map, the end result of our value stream map, where we mapped the entire process, who was there, and it was easier from this to extract and figure out the better ways to do their business, so the logistics and the operations, and also to have a supporting software, the product that would help them in this journey. So again, what we did, we mapped the key steps up in the process, we mapped the people, we mapped all the steps in between, and then we identified where the value is delivered, and we marked the existing tools that are used, and then we try to simplify and mark the new tools, how new product will help them streamline this. After we did those user interviews and personas, and we finalized the value stream mapping, we realized that then it's going to be easier for us to build a feature map of, so it's not a roadmap, it's a feature map of everything that this product can have to help them support it. Later on, we built a roadmap of when things will be in the product available, depending on the priorities we together established. We built architecture diagram where we can see clearly, and where the tech team can see how certain APIs will be connected, or what will communicate with what. And we built the user flows and wireframes. So I will not show you everything we did, but I will show you high level of like how the feature map look like. So we detected different areas and different features that can be in the product that would help them do the onboarding with a embedded form, do like having a specific profile for each user, like a mini CRM, where they will integrate Salesforce so they can have all the data handy whenever. Then we had a member profile with all the documents, all the past journeys, or the specific notes for that client. We would be able to, for their manager, to be able to see all the current travel requests and the progress on each of those. Then we would be able to see some reportings, the streamline the financials and so on. So it was much easier to build based on the value stream mapping exercise we did than just simply based on the assumptions, putting things together and you say, here, this is what we're going to do. That's it. And then we did, this is how the zoomed out PigJam looks like. So we did personas and the process. We did features, architecture diagram, and then we did complex user flow to help them also see how things in the system will be connected. When we did the user flow, we also included them to show the client how we map the system, and together we optimize it even more with some other things. We use the fact that we have a people who are going to be users, and to bring them into the workshop and ask for feedback right away on the exact user flow. So it doesn't make sense to you. How do you think? Do you think this will be helpful? Do you see any other thing that you can do in this or that situation? And so how we can tackle certain situations. That helped us polish and kind of finalize the user flow for this stage to be able to easily build wireframes on top of it. We included them later in the entire process, but what we did at the beginning helped a lot in shaping the direction toward where we are going. And it was much easier for us to understand how complex the internal operations were, and it was easier then to figure out ways to build a product to help. That's all. We have like 10 minutes for questions. I'm really looking forward to answer some of those, and I hope it was helpful because, as I saw, not a lot of you used the value stream mapping before.
Okay, everyone, thank you, Dragana. Anyone who wants to ask a question can either unmute and ask it directly to Dragana, or just send it in the chat and she'll answer.
May I be the one?
Of course.
Hi. Thank you very much for this overview and the nice presentation. Like visually, it looks really attractive. It seems that you're putting really a lot of effort in that, which is great. Since I assume you work as a freelance, as a contractor for companies. Can you tell us a little bit more about how long this process lasted, especially for this client, and in which, let's say, a state of product was this one that you did product discovery for?
Yeah, so this was from zero. I'm in this situation. That was my own client for the agency I'm running. So we do a discovery as a service, and we also offer delivery, but discovery is like the key thing here. The process takes around 3 or 4 weeks with wireframes. But to get the value stream mapping and interviews done, it took us, I think, 2 weeks. But it was like very intense 2 weeks. It's not like one meeting a week or so. It was a very intense discussions on a daily basis with the client to get as much detail as we can. Let me see, there was some other questions. This is very good one. How does the pivoting the ideas affect the documentation? And one thing that is very important, that everything you do during the product discovery is a living document. So I like to do it in PigJam because all the designs are done in Figma, and we have it kind of in the same software. And it's easy to revert and come back and have everything tied together for reference, and you need to keep it updated. So it's not like we did discovery, this is the map, that's it. Once we do the wireframes and once we figure out that some things need to change, it is important that you go and change it in the user flow or in some other parts, depending on what you did, or the information architecture or user journey or something else. So it is important that you update it regularly once you do certain actions and once you change things. So later on, it's much easier for you to have a real state presented. Is there something else?
I'm not sure if you've answered this one, but how does pivoting the ideas affect this documentation? Can it change drastically? Do you preserve and archive all the versions for references? Is this the one you answered?
I did answer shortly on this one. I do not archive it. So all the discussions are, we send the meeting minutes or things like that. And we have one final, current state mapped. It's not like version 1, version 2, nobody look at that. And anyways, in FigJam and Figma, you have the version control, so you can easily revert back to a date and see what happened.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions?
I want to ask one more. How did you learn all these techniques? Where did you gain experience about all the techniques for the product discovery that you mentioned here?
Well, elsewhere, online, I read a lot about these things from, I'm following people who are doing this, and some things they come naturally out of the need, we know that we need to map it somehow, then we were looking for ways to do it, what's the best way to do this and that, and then it sometimes somehow pops up. And that's how I do it. That's how I learn it, and you learn it by doing it more and more. And there are courses, there are the topics, talks online where you can learn. And yeah, somebody asked, repeat, what was your product team trio? The product trio was a PM, a UX designer, and a technical lead. Someone was a great listener. Yeah, so that's the bare minimum. If you have other people from customer service or from sales or that can do for marketing that can join, that's very helpful because they all have different perspectives.
And another question, would you recommend the interaction design foundation for learning when we already touched the topic of learning?
I'm not in a state to recommend them. I don't know. I haven't used them a lot, but there is a great place where you can learn. In product wise, we have those local community, and we try to share knowledge and help people become product managers or become better product managers. So that's what I recommend. Welcome. Okay, I think that's it. Do you have any other questions? It doesn't have to be related to value stream mapping.
Well, I think this is it. Oh, could you comment the current state of product management in Serbia? That's an interesting one.
That's a tricky one. Yes, I can. I think we are at a very early stage. We have a lot of companies who just rename the titles of project to product. And when you read the job description, it gets clear that they're trying to accommodate to a market, but their mindset hasn't been changed. And Anna was recently talking about the mindset and the importance of being brave to change and adjust to, let's say, global trends in product management. So I think we have a long way to learn, and there is a lot of room for a local service-oriented companies to transform and be more product-oriented. Baby steps, but still, I believe this can be achieved. They don't necessarily have to be fully product-oriented, but they would need to embrace and accept that product mindset and integrating the discovery within their process before delivery, not just being yes, ma'am, kind of business where they just do what they're told to do, but getting deeper into the process. And I think Dushan mentioned this in the past talk, that even in the service agencies, you can try to bring this to the leadership, to bring the awareness, and to help restructure internal processes and improve them, so the service you are offering is better for your clients. So that's in short, but we can talk about this at the meetup today more in detail if you want. You're welcome.